Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulullah. You're listening to Islam Tomorrow. We're broadcasting almost live all the way from the city of Peoria, Illinois. Did you ever wonder why Illinois has an S at the M and then we never say it? I always wondered about stuff like that. Illinois. But if I say it like that, they'll get out of here. We know you're not from here. This is your host, Yusuf Estes, National Muslim Chaplain. For the next few minutes, we're going to be entertaining some questions. Wait a minute. Entertaining? Why should I entertain those questions? They're not entertaining me. We'll just look at them and decide about what's the answer. First question. We've been talking, by the way, on the subject of understanding Islam and the Muslims. And so logically, there should be some questions from this, from our audience who are not Muslim. It says here, how does the devil whisper in our hearts and how can we stop it? I think a Muslim asked that one because that's exactly what Allah describes in the Quran, wiswas, which means to whisper. This word wiswas is the whispering into the hearts of mankind. And Allah said in the Quran, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas, malikin nas, ilahin nas, min sharril waswasil khannas, alladhi yuwaswisu fi sudur nas, minal jinnati wan nas. Is that pretty close? Every Muslim, by the way, memorizes the Quran in the Arabic language. Every Muslim alive is memorizing portions or all of the Quran. There's no Muslim that I met anywhere in the world that doesn't know at least the first few lines, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, or a few surahs in the original Arabic language. This means, by the way, the translation of what I read, more or less, say. Now this is like when you find in the book of Ezekiel, when it's telling the prophet Ezekiel what to say. Say, O son of man. That's how God addressed Ezekiel, and this is how he addresses Muhammad. Say, O Muhammad, I seek refuge with the Lord of man, with the God of man. Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas, malikin nas, the king of mankind, and the ilah, God of mankind, from the evil of the whispering whisperer, when he whispers into the hearts of man. Because this is exactly describing what the devil does. The Bible tells us that the author of confusion is the devil. This is what the Muslims believe too. Same religion, really. What do? You do what I just did. You read this verse. That's what God said. Say it, so say it. Read this verse. And you might not know this. Maybe even some Muslims don't know this. But there are certain verses in the Quran that if you read them, the devil takes a hike down the road. We proved that without a doubt one time. There were some people carrying on in the most evil way. I don't want to tell you what all they were doing. Carrying on the other side of a wall where some Muslims were. And I said, guys, no sense going over trying to stop these people because they'll just turn on us. Let us recite this verse called Ayatul Kursi. And we did. And while I was reciting it, I was reciting pretty loud. All of a sudden, it got really quiet. They broke up and they left. And that's not the only example. There are many examples of that. But for those who would like to know, the recitation of the Quran, even if you're not a Muslim, works. Even if you're not a Muslim, the recitation of the Quran in Arabic language works. I'd like to give you a lot more about that, but let's do it this way. Write down my email address and I'll tell you about the details for it. AskIslam@AOL.com. ASKISLAM@AOL.com. It's a good question. It says, what's the relationship or difference between God and Allah? Are they the same? Yes and no. Yes, they're the same, and no, the relationship isn't the same. The reason is because a person could be a human being. They are human beings, right? But they could be from different countries. But they're still human beings, right? Ilah and God are the same word. But the word Allah is not in the English language because English is not strong enough to handle it. Now that sounded facetious, didn't it? Well, I'll ask you a question. When you're talking about anything worshipped, according to Funk and Wagnall, according to Merriam-Webster's dictionary, when you're talking about an object that's worshipped, is it called a god, yes or no? Yeah. And when you're talking about the one true God who has no partners, is not like those little fake idols, is it also called the God? What's the difference? Big G. How do I know if you're talking to me? I can't see the big G. You'd have to say, God, big G, said to Jesus or Muhammad or, right? And those gods, little g, that's the only way I would know. And then what if you're writing and you're starting a sentence, you have to use a big G, but you meant the little g. Now what you going to do? So Ilah is anything worshipped, but Allah is God's name. And it means the only one to be worshipped, because Allah has no plural to it. It can't be made plural. And Allah also can't have gender. Can't be male or female. The reference to He in the Arabic to Allah is out of respect or dignity instead of saying it. And also the plural which you